Hey everyone, Reflected here, and I'm beyond excited to officially announce my upcoming MIG Killers campaign for the new DCS F-4 Phantom by Heatblur. As I already mentioned in my campaign's 2024 video, I've spent the last couple of years researching USAF operations in Vietnam and planning a campaign, but due to the lack of a NAM map, this is on hold. I refuse to use any standing maps. So I had to look for another idea, and that's when I saw a documentary about the first Topgun class starting on March 3rd, 1969, and about how it turned things around in Vietnam. The Navy's kill ratio in World War II was 19-1. In Korea, it was 12-1. In Vietnam, it fell to a dismal 2-1. They asked a guy named Frank Alt to look into the problem, analyze it, and find the root causes. And boy, he found many. Based on his detailed and thorough report, the Navy decided to put together a graduate level training program to form an elite nucleus of highly trained aviators that would return to their squadrons and pass on the knowledge. They named the school inspired by the Western movies that were so popular in the 1960s. They called it Topgun. So I jumped on the internet, watched every documentary, ordered every book, started my research, and to my surprise, I found a wealth of information on the lessons that were taught during these first classes. More than enough to put together an accurate training campaign syllabus. I'm extremely happy with the result. This is going to be my best campaign to date. I know I always say this, but if I didn't think this way, I wouldn't be releasing it. So, what's it gonna be like, you may ask? People really like Zone 5, my 1980s Top Gun Tomcat campaign, due to its randomization and replayability. But they also like Speed and Angels, the Tomcat RAG campaign, for its structure, how you can repeat each task separately as many times as you want to practice, and all the detailed lessons and training aids. So I decided to combine these two and make it the best of both worlds. Like Speed and Angels, the missions are made of several files, separate ones for each exercise with detailed briefings, explanations, and chalkboard drawings at the beginning of each. You'll be practicing specific tactics. It's not a bunch of airquake missions.
If both bogies turn toward the same fighter, thus giving up their 6 to the other fighter, it essentially becomes a 2v1, where the engaged fighter keeps pressure on the bogies, while the free fighter maneuvers to set up for a shot. If, however, the bogies are using more advanced tactics, they're likely to split up and merge. The bogies are likely to feel most threatened by the attacking fighter on their side of the formation and will probably turn toward this attack.
But I also managed to heavily randomize them, especially the more complex ones towards the end. The bandits may do something different next time you fly the mission. They choose a different game plan, or you choose a different tactic, or your flight lead, or the bandits may maneuver or come from a different direction. Maybe your wingman spots them, maybe he won't. Some missions have over 200 unique outcomes, and that's only up until the merge. I'm also very proud that I managed to make the bandits use realistic MIG tactics, no more UFO AI, and also make your wingman use teamwork with you based on what the bandits do. I didn't simply unleash the DCS AI and let them fight in any way they were programmed to by ED. They use specific tactics that are the topic of the given lesson. It's really next level stuff. It's a proper training campaign. You'll learn a lot about how to take the Phantom to the edge of the envelope and beyond, how to fight the more maneuverable MiGs, how to use section and division tactics to kill the bandits, how to counter typical MiG tactics, and a lot more. There will even be an air-to-ground part. Yes, there was an air-to-ground part in the syllabus back then, and you'll have some other very special events as you near the end of the course. More info on this later. Another interesting feature is the kill system.
Speed Angels on the left. Speed Angels on the right. Alright, takes on, check left 50 degrees.
In this campaign, everyone is immortal. Just like in real life, the fighter who launches calls the shot. You have unlimited missiles and you actually need to launch in-game. And then If they deem it successful, they call the kill, and the victim acknowledges and bugs out. It was pretty difficult to set up in a complex, say, 4v4 situation with many possibilities of who kills who with what kind of missile, but this will give you the most realistic experience. In 1969, there was no text system that would enable the controller to evaluate shots and call the kills. It was up to the pilot who called the shot to evaluate it, and if, during the debrief, when they watched the tapes, it didn't look like a kill, well, I guess he was buying all the rounds at the O Club that night.
2000. Fox 2. Kill bandit. Copy kill, knock it off. 2, knock it off.
The campaign will also feature a large number of interactive checklists. Taxi, before takeoff, lineup, systems check, stab-off check, rig check, G-worm, fence in, fence out, battle damage, descent, landing, after landing, precisely following real-life procedures. There won't be a single second when you'll feel bored, not even during the otherwise uneventful ingress and egress parts. You'll definitely learn a thing or two about Phantom operations, and not just in combat. Many thanks to the SMEs who helped me get these right, especially Robbie and Vulture. Of course, I had to make some compromises to make it happen, and as always, you'll have to use your imagination a bit. We still don't have a Miramar map, so I'm gonna use Indian Springs on the Nevada map instead, also known as Creech Air Force Base today. Hey, Zone 5 and Speed and Angels also use standing maps, and it didn't subtract one bit from their value. See, Topgun at first was an unwanted child. They got no budget. They had to steal an old trailer to have any kind of building or classroom. They were just an experiment. So, sending the school down to Indian Springs in the middle of nowhere is actually not that far-fetched. I'm going to use the F-86 to simulate the MiG-17 and the F-5 to simulate the MiG-21. While both types were used as adversaries in real life, as far as I know, they only used A4s during the first few classes at Topgun, but again, we don't have an official A4 module in game, and for the sake of these lessons, the Sabre and the Tiger will do perfectly fine. This brings us to the last but most important compromise. Some of you may say, hey, the F-4E that we have in DCS is an Air Force Phantom, not a Navy one. And if this crossed your mind, then it means that you know a thing or two about Phantoms, which is great. So let's have a look at the differences between Air Force and Navy Phantoms. They have different area refueling systems. True, but you won't have to refuel during the campaign, so it doesn't matter. They have different radars. Yeah, but in close combat, it doesn't really matter either. There's no flight controls in the back of Navy Phantoms. Who cares? You'll fly from the front seat anyway. Navy Phantoms have no guns. True, and this is an important one. That's why you won't carry any ammo. Problem solved. Navy Phantoms have a shorter and stubbier nose. Yes, and they look better too, but oh well. The biggest and most important difference, though, is the leading edge slats on the wings of the E model versus the hard wings on Navy Phantoms. This has a huge impact on how the jet flies and on the campaign, but I found a solution. With a bit of scripting, I kinda welded the slats of your Phantom, essentially turning it into a hard wing. Except for the takeoff and landing, because, soft wing Phantoms could only drop their flaps to half, and half flaps with no slats wouldn't behave realistically in the pattern. So at the start of each mission, you will be given the option to unweld the slats and fly a soft wing Phantom if you like, but these missions are meant to be flown with a hard wing. So in the campaign, essentially, you will be flying a hard wing Phantom just like they did at Top Gun in 1969. Also, Hitler hinted that a Navy Phantom might come later on, and if and when it does, I'll release another version of this campaign using the Navy Phantom. Now to the million-dollar question. Will it be multi-crew, multiplayer compatible? No. As I said many times, triggers in such missions are so complex, they only work if there's only one player. Also, you will be flying with instructor Rios and then Jester. They will teach you, coach you, help you during the fights, and also flip switches, do Rio stuff for you such as navigation, radio comms, call out checklists, so they're nearly fully automated in order to give you the illusion that you're flying with a real person. So even if it was possible, there would be no point in putting a friend into the automated backseat just so they could sit there like a bag of sand. But it's not possible, so the discussion is moot. I would have had to build these missions for Multicrew from the start, but then they'd be no fun in single player. It's either or. In any case, it will be the most intense air combat you've ever experienced in a single player environment. I love the late 60s. You have the thrill of getting a Sidewinder growl, launching a missile, and watching that white smoke trail reach out to the bandit, but it's not like modern dogfights where you just look at someone and he dies, with helmet mounted displays and whatnot. You need to do as much maneuvering for the shot as if you were in a P-51 Mustang tangling with a 109. It's a true knife fight. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you're excited about this one. The campaign should be released shortly after the Phantom. Please subscribe for further updates. I have a lot more to share about MIG Killers because it will have several amazing features, and I'm also planning a series of F-4 tutorials. Make sure you don't miss those either, so you can learn how to fly this magnificent aircraft properly. Alright, see ya!